7 p.m. Eastern, right here.
Your IFAC is on tonight.
What I've done my whole life is win. We had 17 people, and I ended up winning.
A political scientist says Trump has an 87% chance of becoming president. Is that hooey or based on reality? We're investigating.
We don't pay ransom. We just don't pay ransom. It is our policy. This was not ransom. Any suggestion that it had anything to do with ransom is absolutely and utterly false.
The Wall Street Journal angering the White House with an article about millions of dollars being paid to the mullahs. We'll take a hard look at that. Also ahead, Miller on Olympic chaos and Goldberg on the New York Times possibly protecting Hillary Clinton.
Help us go out and win an election!
Caution. You are about to enter the no-spin zone. Factor begins right now. Hi, I'm Bill O'Reilly. Thanks for watching us tonight. What do folks think about the Trump campaign? That is the subject of this evening's Talking Points memo. Unfortunately, it is the press which largely defines the campaigns for president, and as we all know, the American media leans sharply left, so we the people are often barraged with propaganda rather than reality. There's an example of populist newspaper, USA Today. It's on a jihad against Donald Trump, posting negative page one headlines day after day. Sometimes Mr. Trump deserves the headlines, but there's little balance in that paper. Now, it's certainly true that most voters do not rely on the media to make decisions, but some uninformed Americans are swayed by what they believe is popular opinion. So tonight, I want to give every folks a voice commenting on the Trump campaign itself, which has taken some hits over the controversy. Begin with Marcus Smith, who lives in Hagatina, Guam. And he writes, Mr. O, Kirsten Powers is correct, stating that you were over-generous to Trump regarding his Muslim comments. This proves you are endorsing him. False, Marcus, we endorse no one, never have. I clearly told Kirsten that context is important when launching critical arguments. And the press rarely provides context. For example, when speaking about Muslim women, Trump raised the inequality argument, which is certainly valid when discussing Islam, is it not? While that cannot be applied to Mrs. Khan herself, because we don't know her circumstance, that was a Trump mistake, we must be sensitive to Mrs. Khan because of her great loss. But the general point was mentioned by me to provide context. James Love writes from Norman, Oklahoma, so we're down to a choice between someone who does stupid things and lies about them as opposed to someone who says stupid things and tries to justify them. It's kind of dark, James. Both candidates are human beings with all the downside that goes along with that. So the question is, for everyone, who's better to run the country? Patrick Newman checks in from Manchester, New Hampshire. O'Reilly, you dropped the ball when Trump said he was viciously attacked by Mr. Khan. Hillary Clinton was also attacked by dozens of people at the RNC and didn't respond. First, I clearly pointed out how Mrs. Clinton handled the Pat Smith broadside. Right? Didn't I do that? Second, there is a style difference between Clinton and Trump. He confronts. She's far more measured. That'll be interesting to see how it plays out in the debates. And that's a key. Carol Rollo, Pensacola, Florida. O'Reilly, after last night's interview with Trump, I finally realized what is wrong with him. He lacks wisdom. Not really fair, Carol. The man is new to the political game and is under intense scrutiny. Obviously, anyone in that position will make mistakes. It's how fast, I should say, that Trump learns from his mistakes that will make his campaign. Gina Mendoza writes from Miramar, Florida. The Democrats are baiting Trump, hoping he'll explode. Why can't anyone in his campaign tell him that? Well, I'm sure they've told him that, and Trump knows it as well. He's a shrewd man. But it is discipline that defines how any candidate reacts. Discipline will be the key to this election, and Hillary Clinton is a very disciplined candidate. So summing up, the American voter is paying attention, as you saw from the letters, and I believe we're all trying to vote responsibly. Well, maybe not all of us, but most of us. But emotion rules the race, and that's not a good thing. And that's a no. Now, for the top story, as we reported Monday, a political scientist at New York Stony Brook University says his model shows Trump has an 87% chance of winning the election. Helmut Norpoth laid out his model in the newspaper Newsday. We asked Karl Rove to study it. He joins us now from Austin, Texas. So what say you, Mr. Rove?
Well, Bill, there's not a lot to study there. Models, if you want to verify them, you have to go look at the equations that they use to arrive at numbers as precise as 87%. Anybody can go online to primarymodel.com and see Dr. Norpoth's model, but it is not a model. There's no calculation, there's no formula. In fact, he says he looks at basically three things. Is this a third-term election? That is to say, has the White House been held for 8 years by one party? And if so, then it's a third-term election, and the advantage goes to the party out of power. Well, that's pretty standard. He then says, beginning in looking at elections beginning in 1952, only the New Hampshire primary has been used as a rule. South Carolina has been added to gauge primary performance this year. So he looks at two primaries, New Hampshire and South Carolina, but he does not explain how he looks at them. What does that mean? Does that mean, he says Trump did better in South Carolina and New Hampshire than Hillary Clinton did? Well, what does that mean? And, for example, 1988, there are more people who voted in the Republican primary in New Hampshire, and George H.W. Bush gets more votes than the number of people who voted in the Democratic primary for Massachusetts Governor Michael Dukakis. But that may just simply be the fact that in 1988 there were a lot more registered Republicans in New Hampshire than there were registered Democrats, unlike today where it's relatively a third. So I don't find enough in here to make a judgment.
Right. So you think that it's hooey then, that the 87% is not?
I can't figure out how he gets to 87%.
Okay. And that's why we gave it to you, because you're an analyst. You look at those things. That's what you do. Now, I think that the Democratic strategy has changed from issues into personality, that they're going to run on one thing and one thing only at this point, that Trump's not suitable, whatever that means, and they'll define it whatever way they want, to hold the office. Am I wrong?
No, I think that's been their plan all along, to make that the dominant note. And he's given them ammunition in the last 2 weeks to make it an even larger element than he might have otherwise planned to have at this point.
Well, I don't know, though, if that was from the jump. In the beginning, Hillary Clinton was challenging him on issues, and now it's all turned around. With a powerful ally in the press, the Clinton campaign does have the advantage in trying to define Mr. Trump as a danger, right? That's a pretty big advantage.
Look, so what? The press is not for us. It's on the side of the liberal in the race. Wake up. That's the reality. The question is why is Donald Trump giving them the ammunition to do what they want to do? Let me give you a couple examples, Bill. This didn't start in the last day or two. This started the day after he accepted the nomination. He holds a news conference on Friday morning. He's the fresh new candidate of the Republican Party. The Democrats are going to meet on Monday. So what does he do? He holds a news conference that he devotes to excoriating Ted Cruz, saying he doesn't need his support, and bringing back up the myth that Ted Cruz's father had something to do with the assassination of JFK. That was not a good starting note for the general election. And since then, he has missed opportunity after opportunity after opportunity to wage this campaign on a winning front. Last Friday, he is involved in attacking a Gold Star family. That is the day that the government put out the official numbers on GDP, saying that we had an anemic 1.2% growth in the first quarter. He could have spent the day and the subsequent days attacking Hillary Clinton for being more of the same that has cost Americans jobs, prosperity, and paychecks.
And he lost
instead,
all that.
He's involved, and he keeps doing it.
And the press didn't cover it. I have to just make one quick correction. It was 1.2 in the second quarter.
I'm sorry, that's right.
Yeah, we want to be precise here. But I think the debates, I think this con thing's going to go away. I mean, the Democrats will use it, but in the minds of the voters, I think the debates, the first one's going to be the Super Bowl of all debates, highest rated debate of all time, and I think that will tell the tale. Last word, 20 seconds.
Well, I'm not certain that he'll last to the debates if we have more disastrous weeks like this in which he misses an opportunity. Sunday, Hillary Clinton goes on television and lies again about the emails. And what does he do? He attacks the debate commission for scheduling the debates 18 months ago on the nights when they're NFL game, and then attacks the fire marshals and Colorado City.
Certainly has become more focused.
And he needs to get more focused and disciplined, or he may run out of airspeed and altitude long before September 26th.
I don't think so. I kind of think that those debates are really going to tell the tale, but I could be wrong as always. Mr. Rove, thank you. Next on the rundown, did the USA bribe Iran to release Americans? A controversial story in the Wall Street Journal has angered the White House. And later, the Olympics in Rio already chaotic, possibly dangerous. We'll have a special report, and Miller will weigh in as well. Upcoming.